Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome back. And this is our One Heart, One Earth Global Awakening event for November 2020. And we are back with Monique, talking about the Yogic Diet. Awesome.
Hi, nice to see you, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you. And I was telling everybody on the last live how excited I was to have you on so we can talk about this, because this is really an important topic. I think a lot of us are wondering what to do with our diet as our vibrations and our energy is changing and things are opening and shifting. So this is just awesome. So I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you.
Well, let's start out. I just would love for you to share your story and who you are and what you do so that folks who are new to the community can check in with you.
Okay, great. So first of all, happy World Kindness Day.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and so, with World Kindness, I was thinking we could talk about all of this through that lens of kindness to ourselves, kindness to the planet, and kindness to animals. So that's kind of what I'm thinking about today. So my name is Monique Toe, and I teach the Yogic Diet. And I'm an independent yoga teacher and a nutrition coach, so a plant-based nutrition coach. And let me tell you a little bit about what the Yogic Diet is, Lisa. It's a sattvic diet. So in yoga philosophy, and particularly in the Bhagavad Gita, all matter is classified into three different kinds of energies. You have sattvic energy, which is pure and peaceful. You have rajasic energy, which is overstimulated and really passionate. And then you have tamasic energy, which is heavy and dull and lethargic. So a sattvic diet is a yogic diet. And a sattvic diet is a plant-based diet that focuses on fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, herbal teas, water, and then a rajasic diet is like processed foods, sugar, caffeine, and they're stimulating, right? Sometimes they're overly, right? We've all experienced drinking too much coffee and then all of a sudden, yeah. So, and the tamasic energy or tamasic foods that contribute to that heavy energy are animal foods like chicken, fish, eggs, beef, and also drugs and alcohol also fit into the tamasic category. They make us heavy and dull. So yeah, I teach about how to raise our vibration through what we're eating, and we are what we eat, right? On some level. Now, my spiritual teacher says that more important than food is what we're thinking. So I always try to keep that in mind, that all food is sacred, and no judgment. At the same time, we can tweak those things. First and foremost is our thoughts.
Yeah. I love it. So how do you start? Let's say you're like, I can tell you where I'm at. So I have 22 food allergies, and I discovered those in 2011. And dairy was an off the charts allergy for me. Salmon, tuna, charts allergy for me. And wheat, barley, and malt. So I'm not celiac. I can process gluten fine, but I've been gluten-free, but wheat-free more specifically, because I learned pretty quickly on that even if it says gluten-free, it doesn't mean that it's healthy or free of wheat, barley, malt, or other sugars and things. So I've already been on this decade-long journey of eliminating things. And I feel like I'm in a place where I'm kind of ready for the next step. But there's also people watching who maybe haven't done anything yet. So what's your advice, like depending on where you're at in your food journey as far as elimination and kind of what are the steps you take and why would you do it?
Okay, so that's a good point. I think let's focus first on maybe what to include, right?
Yeah.
So there's a Dr. Michael Greger who wrote a book called How Not to Die. He has a really great free app, which is called the Daily Dozen. And on that, he reads, I love him. He reads every single nutrition article in every medical journal that's published in the English language every year.
Wow.
So yeah, he's really up to date. And so anyway, he has 12 things that we really need to include in our diet. So number one is beans and legumes. Now, I do know some people have issues with that, and you don't have to rely on that for protein, but most of the planet eats plenty of that and does very well, including myself. So yeah, beans and legumes, and that includes tofu, tempeh, and even green peas are included in that. Also, flax seeds, that's really important for our diet. Berries are really important. And then all the fruits and vegetables, especially grains. Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who helps people reverse heart disease, reverse it, like people who are at the very end and have done surgeries and treatments and they have nowhere else to go. He helps them to completely reverse heart disease. And he emphasizes greens. So greens and greens and greens. And, water, exercise, right? So I think it's important to think about what are the delicious and whole grains, right? So you can't eat wheat, Lisa, but yeah, you can eat oats or maybe gluten-free oats. You can eat rice and brown rice and red rice and wild rice and quinoa, right? So there are plenty of options. I also took a food sensitivity test at one time, and I tested like sensitive to gluten, but and I did get off for a while, but now I eat it and I'm fine and I'm doing great. I think any time that I'm focusing too much on grains rather than like the vegetables, right? It kind of has to be a balance. If I think about a plate, and a plate has about a quarter of the plate is beans or some kind of tofu, some kind of protein source. A quarter of the plate is grains, and then about half the plate is fruits and vegetables. Eating like that will feel great. And that's, I would say even if you're an omnivore, that's something to shoot for. Absolutely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some feedback, guys. Sorry about that. I've had it off and on this week. Coco says, hello, I'm looking forward to learning more on how to tighten my diet. So true, thinking and thoughts are very important. And she has that book. So that's pretty cool. If you guys in the audience have questions throughout this, please share them for sure. We would love it.
Lisa, let me tell you a little bit about my journey with
Yeah.
food. Yeah, we talked about this before. So I was a yogi and a meditator since I was around 25. And then for about 10 years, that was going fine. And I did become a mostly vegetarian. And then around 35, 36, I took a yoga teacher training. And it was in Singapore because my family, we were living overseas at the time. So went to Singapore and learned about a yogic diet for the first time. I came back to where I was living in Indonesia, and I started teaching all of these people about a yogic diet. And I was so excited that it wasn't like a diet about vanity or a diet about changing the way we look, but it was a diet about changing our thoughts and our energy. And I just really resonated with that. So I started teaching it, and it was great. And everybody was having really big breakthroughs, and it was beautiful. And I was so excited. And then I discovered that I had an eating disorder. And I didn't even know it consciously until that time. So it's interesting how, some people say that yoga shines light on dark corners, right, of our lives. And so that dark corner had never had light upon it until I started teaching the yogic diet. So anyway, then I became very stressed that, oh my gosh, I actually have an eating disorder. And so I have binge eating disorder. And what that means is that since I was young, I would stuff my pain with food. So it's not like, you're nervous about the election and you eat an extra bagel. It's more like, you put yourself in a bit of a stupor with food, just like drugs or alcohol would do, in order to not feel. So that was a big deal. And it was very hard and heavy. And I did a lot of therapy and a lot of work and a lot of meditation and a lot of chanting. And finally, over some years, it lifted. But it wasn't until I went completely plant-based that it lifted biochemically. Like, I realized that eating a plant-based diet has changed my chemical urges for food, or my blood sugar. Some things really changed, that I'm not triggered in the way that I used to be by food. And in addition, I've done the work to move through the issue. But I find it really fascinating that eating a plant-based diet has eliminated that part of an addiction. I think it's amazing. And I feel like that's a good sign for all of us, using my own self as an experiment. I think that's indicative of maybe other people might feel the same benefit. So I stopped teaching yogic diet for a while, and I was teaching in Kuwait. My family and I moved there, and I taught some Saudi Arabian men for a while, and that was amazing. But coming back to the US, I have gone back into my yogic diet teaching, and I'm really loving doing this, because this is what really resonates with my soul. And it's my dharma and my life's purpose.
It's really beautiful. What are some of the tools or resources or even tips that you can share with folks who may be struggling with food? Especially, it's so stressful right now. So for folks who are struggling with food and wondering where to even start, what's your advice on that?
Well, I want to be honest and say that I don't think that there's a quick fix, but if people are really struggling with food, I think that moving toward a plant-based diet would be a big step. Also trying to have more mindfulness while we're eating, and chewing, breathing, relaxing the body while we eat, taking time, making our meals sacred. I think that's very helpful. And of course, we may need to do some inner work, whether it be some therapeutic work or meditation or contemplation. But where do these things come from? And I think finding out why we do something and why we're complicated with food is a big part of finding solutions. And also, number one, gentleness. We cannot force anything away from us. We cannot force or push any kind of transformation or change. Gentleness is the key. Self-love is the key. It's it has to be a very gentle journey in order to make those big shifts.
Totally agree. What are some of the resources and tools that you have available for folks who want to connect and just looking for resources and support?
Yeah, so I teach a yogic diet workshop. I did 4 this year, so almost like 1 every quarter. And that's a good place, you know. And also that the app I was telling you about, the Daily Dozen with Dr. Michael Greger's app. What are some other tools? So I'm teaching yoga, and I think yoga is fantastic because it's a mindful movement. So we can really start to tap into how we feel, how are we doing. We try to move towards some evenness of mind with yoga practices, right? So yeah, I'm offering the yoga and the nutrition workshops. And I'll be in very soon, coming up in December, in just a couple of weeks, I'm going to be offering a cooking event. So we can all cook together live online, and planning to make a plant-based enchiladas. So yeah, it'll be fun. So I do have some other things to share with you. Can I share a couple of them? Yeah. So I wanted to share that one of the reasons why I became plant-based, and it was just last fall, so it's been a year exactly. One of the reasons is someone that my husband worked with had 4th stage cancer and was deemed as incurable, and he had done the surgeries, chemo, radiation, and he went on a very aggressive plant-based diet and did a lot of the juicing. And, you know, I don't do a lot of juicing. I do a little bit. By the way, if you're going through menopause, juicing beets will completely take away the hot flashes. So FYI, if anybody needs to know that. And it's just a little bit, like a half a cup. But anyway, so what I was saying is this person that my husband works with, you know, sort of wrote an email about what he did, and he got completely well and cured his own cancer. And it was amazing to me. The story was phenomenal, and it wasn't marketing or advertising. It was a personal connection. And then it made me really think about, I was thinking about going back into the yogic diet business, and I was like, wait a minute, maybe there's something here. And then I went and got certified in plant-based nutrition through Cornell University, and getting all of that education, and finding out from all these doctors and scientists that this is really the healthiest way to eat, I was so empowered and excited. And it made me feel confident, because sometimes, you know, we look on the internet and we're like, well, you know, am I getting everything? Am I not getting everything? You know, so this really helped me to feel confident that that this is the right way forward for me. And then there's a movie called Game Changers, which some people have seen out there. And my husband and daughter and I watched it last fall. And then it was like, after that was it. All 3 of us were like, that's it. We're gonna, and my daughter, who's a teenager, her eczema cleared up completely, and she's had horrible eczema on her arms since she was 2 years old, and it disappeared. And I was like, wow, that's cool. And, you know, my husband is having some benefits with his cholesterol level. His blood pressure still hasn't come completely down yet, but you know, I'm just excited that we did this together, and it came from that person's cancer journey. So I wanted to share that with you as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and it's amazing your whole family is doing it. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and so that brings us to my daughter is kind of an activist, and I am too. So, you know, just want to talk about sustainability for a minute, because having a plant-based diet is the #1 way that we can affect having a sustainable planet, you know? So I don't know if you know this, but scientists are saying that by 2055, there won't be any more fish in our ocean. And a lot of it is runoff from these, industrial factory farms that are polluting our water. And, of course, there's overfishing as well. And I don't know if you know this, but in the Amazon, one football field size piece of land is mowed down every single day, or maybe, no, it's every single minute. It's every single minute, so that we can grow food for farm animals. So we are destroying the lungs of our planet. And that's another reason why my daughter has bought into this, is because we're activists and we want to save the planet. So I wanted to share with you Paramahansa Yogananda. He said, change yourself and you have done your part in changing the world. So part of my stance is, yes, self-care and our own health, yes, has to be number one. But number two is let's save our planet by not participating in this industry that we don't need, So we don't need those foods. So why are we participating? And I think once we know better, we can do better. So and then you're holding your little beautiful cat. And I also brought with me, I wanted to share about compassion towards animals, because I think, that's another reason why people like to get involved with a plant-based diet. So is it okay if I share with you some facts a little bit?
Yes. Hey, before you switch to animals, though, I do want to share too, there's some really important information coming from Dr. Zach Bush as well, in regards to saving our soil. And here on Buddhist Biohacker, I'm currently arranging with the Native American group that produced the movie Soil, that we'll be doing a screening for that, because we are also we're at a high rate of loss in healthy soil to grow even the vegetables that we need. And Dr. Zach Bush has an incredible website, but he has a lot of information, especially around pork and around, what kinds of methane gases are coming from pigs right now. And so there's a lot of work to be done. As Dr. Zach Bush says, we are in our own extinction. So it is up to us to really take a hard look at that and look at how you can get involved and be a part of that. So I'm right there with you, Monique, on what we need to do to save the planet. And as a Great Plains clinician, every single tox panel I get back is full of glyphosate. It's full of toxic chemicals. It's full of flame retardants and gasoline. These things are all coming from animals, from our foods, from our land. So it's so important. So yes, let's talk about some facts and some compassion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing up Dr. Zach Bush. I've also, read through his website and listened to some of his videos, and I find his work absolutely important and fascinating.
Yeah, he's incredible.
So I just wanted to share, not everyone is aware of how the factory farming affects animals. A lot of us think of a factory farm, sounds kind of sweet, like there's little chickens running around and, we get this idealistic picture of a farm, but it's not like that. And I think a lot of people are aware now that it's not like that. So just want to share some facts that the majority of chickens raised on a factory farm have their beaks cut off with no anesthesia. So, ouch. And then male chickens they're little baby chicks. The little baby male chicks serve no purpose. So they're ground up alive on the day that they're born. And and then free range is not really free range. They're actually like still kept in cages, those chickens. As you may know, newborn calves are taken away from their mothers right after birth, and those mother calves cry for those newborns. So it's really intense if you ever look into it. More than 80% of all the antibiotics in the United States are used for livestock. So these animals are just being filled with antibiotics because they're all living close together, and they're sick, and sometimes they're even living right next to animals that are not alive anymore. So there are diseases, and so that's a lot of antibiotics going into them and then into us. I'm trying not to take it too dark here, but 82% of cows that are dairy cows have their tails cut off with no anesthesia. And, it goes on. I think I'll stop with that one, but it's too, it's gruesome. And why? Why, when we don't need it, why are we doing that? And then when we have grown up in this system, it's called carnism. It's like racism. It's called carnism, and we believe that this is, ethical, right, logical way to eat, but it's actually not. So, one thing I try to tell people is, and this is gruesome, but I tell people, like, would you take a fish and put it in the blender for your smoothie? And then if not, then maybe we're not necessarily designed for that, So I don't know if you are aware, but our digestive systems are very long, and all the carnivores' digestive systems are very short. So we're talking like 3 feet of intestines for the carnivores, and for the frugivores and humans, we have 9 feet of our digestive system is, so carnivores are meant to eat the food, digest it quickly so it doesn't go rancid and then it's out. But we're not really designed for that biologically. So the more I dig into this, the more I'm just absolutely convinced that this is such a healthy and wonderful way to eat, and also be an activist, try to save our planet and take care of animals, because we want more compassion on this planet. We see so much destruction, and we can start just in our own lives, in our own circle.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. That's a lot of intense information, but good for folks to know. And it's, at the end of the day, it's all about being conscious, right? Conscious in our decisions and our choices and what we're doing and how we're doing it, and being able to support where we're headed. And it's interesting to me that we've seen some meat shortages and some changes. I think there's some things going on in the world that are going to start to naturally shift to more of a plant-based space. Coco's asking, what do you think of the marine collagen peptides that are sold? I put that in my coffee every morning for my joints.
Well, hi, Coco. So I'm not sure about the marine collagen peptides. I'm wondering if you can get plant-based collagen, possibly. I know that with, a lot of people take fish oil, right? But then the fish, I know I'm just speaking about fish oil because that's something I've studied a little bit about, and I'm not aware of the collagens situation. But with fish oil, you're getting that omega-3 fatty acid, right? So, and that's important. But the fish are getting it from algae. So the fish are getting that omega-3 fatty acid from the algae. So now I take a supplement that includes algae for my omega-3 fatty acids. So I'm just wondering, and I only take one supplement. I take one thing. It has B12, which is important for all of us. It has some D with K2, which is important for all of us. It has iodine, which is important, especially for vegans. And it has these omega-3 fatty acids from algae. So anyway, I'm just wondering, Coco, if you could get what you need from a plant-based source. And if not, and you feel that you need it, then, no harm done, right? We have to move forward with what we think is good for us. And if it feels good for us, then, we don't necessarily abandon it, right? I think.
Mm-hmm. If you guys have any questions, throw them in the chat box. I welcome that. And what would you say to somebody who, is concerned about getting all the nutrition when they stop bringing that kind of protein into their body? And I also wonder what your thoughts are on soy, because it is so... There's a lot of things that can happen with the body that aren't positive with soy. So when you talk about tofu and things like that, there's definitely a challenge. So I'm curious what you've learned about that and what your thoughts are on that.
Okay. So, well, first of all, let's talk about protein. So the World Health Organization says that we should have a diet of 5% protein. And that's like 30 grams a day for women. And I think it's 45, 50 grams for men. That's not a lot. And you can get all your protein needs met from plants. So it's just interesting to me how the culture has told us that we need protein, but it's really not necessarily true. And most people don't have any protein deficiencies. It'd be really hard to have one unless you're just literally a little child living on gruel in, some part of the world and you don't get your other, nutrients. But it's really hard to have a protein deficiency. And scientists are saying that too much protein is hard on the kidneys and the bones and some of our organs. So that's it. It's interesting once you start to study about even athletes. Athletes need about 10% of their calories from protein. So if we're shooting between 5 and 10%, we're going to be getting what we need. And I don't know if you know this, but babies double their size from birth on breast milk, which is only 6% protein. And of all the animals on Earth, human breast milk has one of the lowest quantities of protein of almost all the animals. So we are needing other things for our growth that is not necessarily all about protein. So then you asked about soy. So I had also heard and read concerning things about soy, but when I did my plant-based nutrition certification, I found out that soy is it's a plant estrogen, and it's not going to affect our bodies and have estrogenic effects in the same way that an animal estrogen will. So there's a lot more concern about having dairy, which actually has estrogen from animals and causes breast cancer, and that's a lot more concerning. So the consensus in the scientific community, at least among the plant-based doctors, I can't say for everybody obviously, is that soy is a healthy and good thing to include in your diet, especially if it's organic and non-GMO. So I drink soy milk, and I have tofu or tempeh or things like that, probably once a day, and I have no issue with it. And I also try to include beans and legumes and curries with chickpeas and those things, right? But yeah, I'm completely at peace with soy, and I have found personally that the benefits of eating plant-based protein like this is wonderful. But I think also, Lisa, that people need to listen to their bodies. If you and I wanted to share this also, that a lot of the foods on our shelves have soy particles or components in them, and that's given soy a bad rap because if you're taking like parts of it out, just the soy proteins for your protein bars, or just this or that, it's different than eating a whole food and how all the elements of the food can affect your health. So that's another thing to think about, is soy has gotten a bad rap from being chemically managed and pulling out certain nutrients for certain purposes.
Makes sense. Cynthia has a question. She said, what are your thoughts as to plant consciousness?
Plant consciousness, meaning that plants have feelings? Is that what she means?
I'm thinking so.
Okay. Well, I haven't thought about it a lot. I think that animals are definitely sentient beings. We have dogs and cats in our homes. We know that they feel, we know that they're thinking, we know that they're afraid and that they don't want to die, they want to live. We know that, right? So I'm mostly thinking about animals for this topic. And we do have to eat, right? So yeah, I think it's interesting. It's an interesting question, but from a practical point of view, I want to try to focus on animals and their feelings first and foremost. And Lisa, I wanted to share with you also, I don't think I shared this, but I'm also teaching kids yoga, and my average age in that class is around 8 or 9 years old. And it's so fun. It is so beautiful. I'm certified in Storytime Yoga, and which is something that Sydney Solis developed, and she's amazing. And so we tell like a story that has a little bit of a moral lesson, and then we act out the yoga poses from the story, like the hero, and then we do warrior or whatever, right? And we also do some mindfulness practices, and we have a dance party. So I just want to share that in case people have kids or know of kids that are home and want an activity on Zoom, because I have to say that in working with those kiddos once a week, right, like I'm doing right now, is really the highlight of my whole week. Because kids are just pure and natural and honest and hilarious. And so I'm so grateful that I get to be a part of their lives. And I'm also a certified school teacher, so I have the chops to work with kids. And I've worked with kids for many, many years. But anyway, just want to share that. And I also teach silver yoga, which is for seniors. And it's a very gentle chair-based yoga practice. And I'm doing that on Sunday afternoons. So, some people want to do yoga, but maybe they're not feeling healthy or strong, or they may be going through an illness, or, maybe they've lost some mobility or strength due to life. And so I love teaching this gentle yoga class also, because I feel like it's inclusive and helpful to people.
Oh, that's lovely. I think kids yoga is so fun. It's such a fun thing to do with them and to show them how to start to move their bodies in different and unique ways. It's really cool.
Yeah, and then one last thing I wanted to share with you is, so I stand for self-care, I stand for sustainability, and the third thing that I really stand for is anti-racism. And what anti-racism means, someone explained it to me, that it's almost as if you're going along on a travelator in the airport. And unless you turn around on that travelator and walk backwards, you're not really affecting change. So becoming anti-racist is to be really doing the work to change our own selves about this topic. And so Angelia Allen and I, this is a African American woman, and I started an anti-racist book club called Allies for Justice. We've had Stacey Abrams from Georgia joined our book club one evening. That was amazing to talk about her book, The Time Is Now, about voter suppression. So I just want to share that as well, that this is something that I'm working on, and our book club is thinking about writing a children's book coming up about anti-racism. So just want to share that this is an important topic also. Lisa, I had a chance to live in other countries for 11 years of my life. I've lived in Italy, China, Indonesia, and Kuwait. And I've also traveled to over 25 countries. And my real stance is that we are one human family with one God. Bottom line. And so having this understanding of the world, I was so grateful to take this forward to how does this affect America, and how does this affect, obviously our current world. So I'm so grateful for this book club that I'm a part of, because it's really changing my life. And one book that we recently read is called My Grandmother's Hands by Resmaa Menakem. And it's about how we all hold racial trauma in our bodies. And for African Americans, there's 400 years of racial trauma being handed down from one body to the next. And that even white Americans have racial trauma stemming back from brutality in European communities. And so reading this book, it's called My Grandmother's Hands, and I highly recommend it. It's helped me to interact with Black bodies differently. So it's just absolutely profound work. So I just wanted to take a minute to share about that topic as well, because be the change that we want to see in the world, right? Let's go. Let's do this. We're awakening. We're in the awakening event. And it's time to be awake and do the work. And sometimes when I'm afraid of how things are going in the world, or I want to complain, and I get into that, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Sometimes I get into that like anybody. But after a couple of days, I start to say, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. How am I going to affect change? And, so I think that's important, that we all keep bringing it back to ourselves and our lives, and being willing to, do the work to have freedom for everyone.
Yeah. Beautifully said. I'm so happy that you were a part of this event and were able to really share all this great information with us. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm really proud of you and proud of the work that you're doing. You are bringing so much light to so many people. And thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. You are absolutely amazing. So thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much. And you put the kitty to sleep, so I think she's happy. And before we go, though, you want to share how folks can connect with you and how they can find you?
Yes, so you can find me at yogicdiet.com. It's YOGICDIET.com. And you can also reach out to me by email, Monique at yogicdiet.com. So, reach out to me. We have little beautiful nutrition workshops. We have yoga, all kinds of yoga. We're going to do some fun cooking coming up. And I'm, building community. And I'm so grateful for my community that's been working with me, and I'm looking to grow this beautiful community to more like-minded folks.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's been watching. We are back in just a few minutes with Christine Shaheen, another excellent, beautiful activist. She is going to be talking about our naturally beautiful self. And I'm excited to see her as well. And so stay tuned. We'll be back. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Monique.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.